What up, y'all? This is Ed Lover. Welcome to Come On, Son, the podcast. There's a whole lot of stuff happening out here, okay? And I got a guest. that I'm going to talk to today. He bought me some wax, y'all. Y'all see that? I got it backwards. I'm so damn stupid. Y'all see that? The Mind of a Saint by my man Skyzoo that's been around for a while. But I'm going to talk to Skyzoo in a quick second. But first, there's a couple of things I want to get off my chest. There's a whole lot of shit going on out there. I don't know if y'all heard or not, but the former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, has just been indicted for the fourth time. The fourth time. And you know what's going through black people's mind right now? That he still may get elected president of the United States. Come on, son. 4 indictments and you still might make president of the United States. But let me tell you what I love about Georgia. Georgia said when they arrest him, he's getting a fucking mugshot. New York City, I love you. I'm from New York, but y'all some punk-ass bitches for not cuffing that motherfucker and making him have a mugshot. Come on, son. If it was me, if it was Zoo, if it was anybody else, we'd have got cuffed and mugshot. If it was Barack would have got cuffed and mugshot too. And speaking of Barack, what is this talk about Barack saying back in letters or some shit that he used to always dream about sleeping with men? Come on, son. Now y'all want to taint this man's entire presidency, and put him on some homosexuality shit? Not against the LGBTQ community, but come on, son. You mean to tell me nobody knew this shit way when he was a junior senator and way when he was running for president? Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. I'm not buying none of that shit that y'all trying to say. And speaking of bullshit, Paramount, y'all on some bullshit. Listen, Tyler Perry, all y'all was running around talking about congratulate Tyler Perry for buying BET. Tyler Perry does not own fucking BET. Paramount pulled back. It was like, we not selling it. We want $3 billion for it. Tyler came with $2 billion. They're like, nah, that ain't enough. We want $3 billion. Come on, son. The fuck out of here. Why y'all trying to inflate the price of BET just so Tyler Perry can't get it? Now, I bet you if Tom Brady and his people got together and said they wanted to buy BET, y'all would give it to him for $2 billion. But because it's Tyler Perry, y'all don't want to give it to him? Come on, son. When the fuck is the last time BET been a real player any fucking way? Let's keep it all the way 100. Besides the BET Awards and stuff like that, who really watches BET for any fucking thing? I know in metropolitan cities that I lived in, that I go to, nobody really watches BET like that anymore. And how the fuck is BET black entertainment television when it's owned by white people? Come on, son. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. And speaking of bullshit, Keke Palmer, you really on some bullshit. You just had a baby. Then you was controversial for wearing the dress that you wore to Usher's concert shit, right, in Vegas, his residency. Now you're starring in Usher's new video about, I heard your boyfriend's looking for me. You's a disrespectful little heifer, Keke. I love you. I think you're a fine actress. You my homegirl, 50 grand. But this shit that you doing to your baby father is disrespectful. And all you ladies out there that said it ain't disrespectful, let me tell you why it is. Because if that had been Sierra or Beyonce and homeboy Keke Palmer's baby father would have did that bullshit, y'all have drug him over the coals, and you know you would have. If he'd have came to that concert with a see-through shirt on, flexing his muscles like he was fucking Terry Crews or somebody, y'all would have had a whole lot of shit to say about that. But Keke doing, it's a woman's body. She can do what she wants to do. Nah, that's her baby father, and he had some shit to say about it. Y'all motherfucking women are a fucking trip. I swear to God. I'm getting ready to talk to my man Skyzoo, but before I do, I want to say rest in peace to Magoo from Timbaland and Magoo, and Chico Del Vec from Junior Mafia, and also the godfather of black music, Mr. Clarence Avant. I bet y'all, I'm about to hit y'all with some shit about to blow y'all mind. I bet you didn't know that Clarence Avant signed Bill Withers to his record label, did he? So every time you hear A Lovely Day, every time you hear Grandma's Hands, every time you hear Lean On Me, remember Clarence Avant discovered the fantastically gifted Bill Withers among a host of other people. So rest in peace to all of them. This is Ed Lover. This is Come On, son. Now let's get to this interview. Skyzoo's in the building. What up, Zoo? My man, straight out of New York City.
What's up, brother?
How
What's
you
going
doing,
on?
man?
Good,
You know
good,
the
man.
first thing I thought of when I heard about you years and years and years ago,
Yeah.
there used to be a group called Sky.
Yep.
And they were out of New York.
Yeah.
And they had a song, back when I was a young trumpet player, they had a song called Skyzoo.
Yep.
Where did you come up with the name Skyzoo?
That's where my name came from. So,
Really?
Yeah. So my real name is Skyler, Skyler. And growing up, like as a toddler, 2-3 years old, my family used to call me Sky for short or Skyzoo after the song.
Get out of here.
And there was a big disco record and all that.
Yeah,
So
hell
it stuck, right? So as a little kid, it was like a nickname in my house.
Okay.
And it stuck. So when I started rhyming, I went with that, knowing nobody else would have it.
That's absolutely original, man. Because Sky was a real big group, man. In the late 70s, early 80s, they had Call Me. They had a whole lot of records, man. Because I was in the band and we used to play a lot of Sky shit.
Yeah, and then the funny thing too, a friend of mine, he's a professor at Temple. And he is a part of the family of Sky through marriage and all that.
Okay.
And he got word to them, and they was already aware, and they gave the super blessing. They was like, yo, he's good. He's doing it for Brooklyn. He's good. He could rock the name however he want. We appreciate it. So I got the nod and all that.
Yeah, you've been around for a while, bro.
Yeah.
When you celebrate your 10-year anniversary?
Oh, man. Nah, more than that. My first retail project, it wasn't my debut album, but it was like an EP to kind of heat things up, was 06.
Wow.
Yeah. So running since then, and then my debut was 09. My official debut album was 2009. And ever since then, I've been just running and running. I think now I'm at between EPs, albums, the whole nine. I think I'm at 25 projects or something like that. Yeah.
That's a lot of projects, man.
Yeah. I'm one a year, sometimes 2 a year, and then things in between and all that. So absolutely.
What keeps you going? What keeps you interested in the music?
Oh, man, the love of the art, the love of lyricism, the love of telling a story for people like myself, people like you, and my neighborhood and where I'm from, and all of us as black folk trying to figure this thing out when it was figured out for us, whether we had an option or not, know? So it's just the storyteller in me. It's telling stories, the culture of lyricism, being one of those guys. And it's been my career since 06. I haven't had to do anything else, thank God, since 06, and I live the way I want. So it's been a blessing.
I'm always interested in knowing people's influences. Mm-hmm. Who are the MCs that influence you?
Oh, man, the holy trinity of Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas. Being from a block away from Biggie, I'm from St. James.
Okay.
So when you say Chico and all that, those is neighborhood OGs, you know what I'm saying? So, that trinity, of course. The Genius was huge in my upcoming The Jizza, Ray and Ghost, and, even 3000, Andre 3000 and Scarface and all that, and, Black Star, when I was in high school, and, Black Thought and all that. But I started rhyming because of Chi Ali.
Really?
That's why I started
rhyming. I
just
saw Chi at the Rock the Bells.
Yeah,
why did you start rhyming because of Chi?
So I'm 9 years old. It's 91, 92. I'm 9 years old. Video Music Box. Ralph McDaniels is on in my crib like every Saturday. And I see this video, little girlie, listen to me, stop giggling and kiss. And I'm like, and I just stopped what I was doing and I looked at the screen and I was hooked. And for me, I'm 9 years old and the video, Chi is like 14, 15. So he wasn't an adult that I couldn't relate to, but he wasn't my age where he felt like a peer. He kind of was that in between. Right. And he looked like the guys in the lobby. When I was going to school every day, me and my mother, he looked like the guys in the lobby, tagging on the wall, hanging out, hollering at the girls. Like, he looked like the guys you look up to, but not too old where you couldn't look up to him. You know what I mean? And I just felt some sort of synergy, and there was something there. And I literally, when the video went off, I pointed to my mother. I said, Ma, I want to do that. Like how a kid point at a commercial and say, Ma, I want that for Christmas. Right. I was like, Ma, I want to do that. I want to do that. And she was like, go do it. And that was it. So Chi is the reason why I started. I'm sure I would have started later, but at 9 years old, Chi was the reason why I started so early.
Does Chi Ali know that?
Absolutely. So we, I had a record in 2012 called Jansport Strings, and the hook was One Time Up for Chi Ali, and it was like talking about my upcoming and upbringing and all that. And when the record was coming out, he had just got out of jail. Right. And we did a remix to it.
Oh, that's dope.
And it was the first joint he did since coming home.
That's dope.
Yeah, so it's out. It's on YouTube and streaming, and, the making of the video, the making of the studio session is online and all that. So the first joint he did since coming home was with me.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It
was super full circle.
It's good to see Chi up on his feet.
Oh, yeah,
I love it. It's good to see him doing things. It's good to see him traveling with Drez.
Absolutely.
And Black Sheep. It's good.
Yeah, the documentary is crazy that they did on him. Super dope. So I'm a Chi guy. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have started when I did,
Yeah, that's incredible. Have you always been an independent artist, or would you ever sign to a major?
I've been indie, as far as indie distribution, indie imprints and all that, I've had meetings with majors. I've had offers from majors. I've turned down major deals. For me, it's always about the integrity. You know, I'm somebody who, when they make music, they got to be able to look in the mirror after they press play. You know what I mean? And I never wanted anything to compromise or pull away from my integrity or what I wanted to speak on. Like, for instance, there's so many projects that I've done that I feel like a major label might have pumped the brakes on. You know, a couple years ago, I did a project called Milestones, and the whole project was about black fatherhood in the inner city. It was about being a dad, me having a son now and all that. I don't know if a major label would have got behind a whole album about Father's Day. You know what I mean? So things like that. And I always wanted to have my integrity of doing what I wanted to do musically. And I'm like, look, I know how to make money independently as an independent artist. Being a major would be amazing because there's so many different buttons that you guys could push that I can't.
Right.
You can make a call and get this done and that done, and that's cool. But I've been successful as an indie artist. If it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. And that's kind of been the theme of my career.
So you feel like if you had assigned to a major, they would have had too much influence on the kind of music that you put out or the subject matter?
I think there would have been a fight that I didn't really feel like I needed to have. You know, like if I'm in the room fighting for my music and what I want to do, and they're fighting for what they think the bottom line is, that's a fight that I don't really need to have if I'm already doing good independently. You know?
But for some artists, it works because, you know, everyone knows that Puff is the guy that forced Big to make radio records.
Right, absolutely. I think back then, you know, I was a kid back then, and I grew up a bad boy kid, right? It's funny you use Puff because being from St. James, you couldn't get away from it. So for me, even as an indie artist, there's no bad boy slander on my timeline. You know what I mean? Because I grew up seeing Big and C's and Kim and aspiring for all that and Mace and the Locks. Like, I grew up in that era. But I feel like back then, at least from the outside looking in, being on a major made a lot more sense and was a little easier from a creative standpoint because it wasn't where the game is now. You know, you look at all the records that the majors was putting out back then, that stuff is still incredible to this day. Yeah. You know, whereas you look at what's going on now in the major in the major label circuit, it's a different type of time. You know what I mean? And for me, I'm just...
And it was different, right? It was a different time because they were pretty much labels, but they were the A&Rs for the majors.
100%.
So they really had carte blanche to tell the majors, this is what is popping, and you don't feel like it's like that anymore.
The more corporate got involved over the years and the bigger hip-hop got, which was what we wanted, right? Like, when we looked at it, it was, oh, this is going to be dead in 5 years, and now 50 years later, we're celebrating. So we wanted these things, but I think the downside of it is we saw what happened when corporate America said, oh, this thing really, really is real. Let's get in. And when they got in, it became out of our control. Yeah, the money came with it, which is great, but it went out of our control and it kind of spiraled. And now we're kind of trying to grab hold of it and get a piece where we can. You know, you look at these lists, the complex lists, and all these things that get people upset, and it's because we're not in the driver's seat anymore. Right. You know what I mean? So, you know, when it comes to all that, it was a different thing in 95 as opposed to in 23. Right. You know? So
there's always people now in 23 making decisions about hip-hop.
Oh, yeah.
Who were not involved in hip-hop.
Who don't have a dog in the fight.
They don't have a dog in the fight.
And they don't
We talk about this all the time. My manager, Dan, and I, we talk about this often from, you know, who are they putting on these shows for the 50th anniversary. Right. Who they're, you know, not giving any acknowledgement to whatsoever. Yeah. You know, what kind of music comes out. You know, all of this stuff. Who's getting pushed to the back because they talking positive. Why are we being, you know... Why be overwhelmed with all of this drug talk and opposition talk and fighting and violence?
And twerking,
when we always had a balance in music.
100%.
You know, like I tell everybody about the Sexy Red chick, the Pound Town. Yeah. I was like, we can't talk about her lyrics if we don't say something about my neck and my back. We embrace that. We embrace I used to be scared of the dick from Little Kim.
Foxy and all that.
Foxy and all that. So we can't, as older people say, something's wrong with that when there was nothing wrong with what we were doing.
Absolutely.
But we still had Lauryn Hill, and we still had Latifah, and we still had
Moni,
and Moni. You and Moni actually did a project together.
That's my homie. Right? Moni is my homie. We did a record for her album together. We shot a video and all that. Moni is my people since 07. She's always been riding for me, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that's my people. Yeah. Man. And the great thing about Moni, too, when she hit me like, yo, I'm coming back, new music, boom, boom, let's do a record. Her pen is still flying. And I was like, damn, Moni, you still going crazy.
Never
like,
stop.
yeah, I was like, you going crazy. She was like, yeah, I'm still moving. I was like, yo, your pen is going crazy, you know? So I love all that, you know?
Yeah, you know, Mo is my absolute favorite radio co-host I've ever had in my entire career.
Nice.
Like, me and Mo work together so well.
Yeah. She's an amazing soul, man. She's an amazing soul.
I just saw her at Rock the Bells.
Okay.
And she performed. She just got engaged and she's getting
Nice.
married. And
Nice.
It's a beautiful thing,
Yeah,
man.
she's an absolute wonderful soul. That's my sister.
She's legendary.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Deservedly so.
And I'm glad she's getting her light on all these shows and all these award shows and these concerts, and because it's way overdue for somebody like her. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I sat back and I watched my man Torre.
That's my brother, yeah.
Build.
Yep.
And you guys did something. I watched him building his career. You know what I mean?
100%.
The Barrel Brothers.
Barrel Brothers. Yep, we did an album, Barrel Brothers, back in 2014. Yeah, back in 2014. So, yeah, that's my family. Me and Tor been running around since 05.
Okay.
Just Brooklyn, the whole deal, boom, boom. And we've been, literally touring together, Europe, overseas, all over the world. We've done everything here in the States. We've, crashed at each other's cribs. Like, that's family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so y'all decided, y'all met each other and then, was feeling each other's styles?
Yeah, we met through the music back in like 05, and it was like, oh, you from Brooklyn? I'm from Brooklyn too. It was that kind of thing.
Right.
And then we just had so much in common. We just started running around, and then people was looking at us like, yo, y'all got so many songs together. Like, man, we need an album from y'all. And one day we was just like, all right. You know what I mean? Like, we've always wanted to see our favorites do an album together. Our favorite solo artists, kind of like Red and Meth. And, you know what I mean? And we was like, yo, let's do it. Let's do it the way we've always wanted to see it done when we was kids.
When you're doing something like that, how do you go about finding the right producers? Because producers, I just saw Flash say something about during his 50-year anniversary of hip-hop, we're not giving producers enough credit. How do you go about finding the right music, the right producer?
Well, I feel like the ear for production is a talent within itself.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, some of the dopest MCs you may hear or whatever it is, they're as dope as the production and the beats get them. A lot of times if they don't pick the right production or whatever, everything just kind of falls to the wayside, just almost as importantly as the pen, So that's an ear and a talent within itself. And for me, I've always been blessed to be able to pick the right beats, pick the right production. I'm big on bringing in the band. I'm big on bringing in the instrumentation. It's funny you said you played the trumpet, which I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Trumpet is my favorite instrument.
Okay.
I'm a jazz head. Like my son is named Miles after Miles Davis, so like I'm a jazz head all day. So I was ill when you brought that. I was like, oh, word up. So I'm big on, we'll have these dirty Pete Rock drums and loops and all, and I'll call my trumpet player Sean Taylor, yo, come through, and he'll play trumpet on top of something you would never think would have a trumpet, but then we make it make sense, and I'll co-write the trumpet arrangements, and you know what I mean. So I'm big on all that. So when Tor and I did Barrel Brothers, we both was reaching out to producers and producers sending us stuff and all that, and we made something undeniable.
Is that difficult to find? Like, because there's a lot of young producers out here. Yeah. There's a lot of producers that you can go online and you can hear those same kind of, they label them trap beat, this beat, boom bap.
So-and-so type beat.
Yeah, so-and-so type beat.
Yeah.
Beat for Lil Wayne. You know what I mean?
Right.
Is it difficult trying to find, especially being indie, when you don't have, the major labels coming up with $75,000, $80,000 for a track? Right.
Well, we've been blessed as independent artists in this era to have relationships with the same producers that Def Jam is hitting or Atlantic is hitting or whatever. So, every record I've ever done, I've had the likes of, from Just Blaze to Ill Mind to Knots to, whoever, anyone you can name, I've pretty much been able to get with them, work with them, build with them on my own level and scale. And the same thing for Tor. So when we came together, there was people just throwing us beats like, yo, y'all gonna do a record together?
Oh,
yo,
cool.
I gotta be on that. You know what I mean? So, and like I said, it's a blessing to be able to have producers reaching out to us, have artists reaching out to us. So even on my solo stuff, people coming to me, yo, you working? Yo, we got to get together. Like I've never lacked for production. I've never lacked
That's good.
for musicians. I've never lacked for studio. It's always in abundance. Yo, I'm such a fan, whatever you need, and that's been a blessing.
Yeah. It's been 10 years since Ode To Reasonable Doubt.
Yeah.
What made you do that?
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. The way that happened, man, so somebody had wrote on Twitter, it was Elzai had dropped Illmatic when he redid Illmatic, the Nas joint. And somebody had wrote on Twitter, it was a fan, and
That's all right.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to
That's
start
how
over
it goes.
again.
No, we don't stop shit around here, bro.
There we go. Somebody had wrote on Twitter, they was like, man, Elzai just did Illmatic over. We got to get Skyzoo to do Reasonable Doubt over. And I just retweeted it and wrote LOL next to it.
Right.
And it took off, man. It was like a firestorm. It was like, yo, this is happening? And I was like, no, it's not. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought it was funny, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it just rolled and rolled. And for like a year, man, people was like, in interviews, you know, and different things. Yo, so speaking of, and I'm like, yo, I never spoke of that. You know what I mean? Like,
it just caught fire. People thought that you were actually working on it.
I did it for the people. The people was asking for it all the time.
You were doing interviews and people was like, when is Ode To
They was
Reasonable
bringing that
Doubt
up.
coming
Like, yo,
out?
when are you going to do that? And I'm like, I never said I was doing it. Like, I just thought it was funny when somebody tweeted it. You know, if it wasn't for that tweet, it wouldn't exist. So I was like, yo, you know what? Let's do it, you know, and we did it. And, yeah, it was dope, man. You know, I loved putting that together for an album that helped shape my upbringing. You know, I was 14 when that album dropped.
You
96.
were 14 in 96?
I was born in 82.
Okay.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I feel old.
Nah, I'm 40 now, so you
Okay.
know what I mean. We close, but but yeah. So you know, I was a teenager. I was in 9th grade when that album came out, and you know, it shaped my upbringing. So for me to be able to pay homage to that from my point of view, it was special. And that's the thing that everybody got with it. They was like, man, what I love about the record is there was never a moment where you was trying to be Jay. You was being you, but using the same beats, using the same concepts, and putting yourself in his shoes. Like, all right, not as Sean Corey, but as Skylar Taylor. Like, what would you have done with the evils? What would you have done if you was in a moment of regrets? What would you have done if you was in a moment of, you know, can't knock the hustle, as me being me, not pretending to sell 100 bricks a day or none of that. You know what I mean? It was take my life and put it in those same concepts and scenarios. What would I do? Yeah. So it was dope, man. And it just continued to trickle and spiral into all these other projects that I've done and just the storm that has been the Skyzoo catalog.
How do you figure out when Skyzoo's going on tour what you're performing and what you're not performing?
Oh, man, I think it's like any other artist. You know, you focus on the newer stuff because the people are into the new stuff, but also you're selling it. You know, so if I'm at the merch table with all my vinyl, the Mind of a Saint vinyl, T-shirts, whatever, like that's the focus. Like I'll tap back into some stuff from so long ago, but it's really usually about the newer stuff. And I think that goes for any artist, whether you're me or whether you're Taylor Swift. I think that goes for any artist where you're focusing on the new stuff. Beyonce just did Mercedes-Benz. I'm sure a lot of that was the most recent album. You know what I mean?
So she grabbed the hits, though.
Yeah?
Okay.
I wasn't there, obviously.
I wasn't there either, but from everybody told me, she gave you a little Destiny's
She
Child.
got to tap back, absolutely.
She got to tap back,
but,
gave you some single ladies.
Yeah,
you know,
she got to,
you know. You got
Crazy in Love and all that.
Have to do Crazy in Love.
You know what I mean? But
and then, you know, everybody waiting for that Jay sighting. You know
right,
what I mean?
waiting for him to pop out.
Yeah,
but,
waiting for Jay to pop out.
Yeah, but, you know, as an artist, when you're still making music, still putting out music, you're always focusing on the new stuff. But I do double back, grab some of the old stuff. And for me, like I said, I'm 25 projects deep. I got to pick. It's because the thing that I've been blessed to be able to do in my career, man, I always use the comparison or the analogy of like a restaurant or like food, you know. And if somebody tells you, yo, Ed, this restaurant is crazy, and you say, yo, what do I get? And they point to one thing, and everybody points to that one thing, that restaurant is good for that one thing. But if somebody says, Ed, go there, yo, what do I get? Get whatever you want. Everything there is banging.
Right.
You know you got something. And that's been the story of my catalog and my career. Like every album I've dropped or throughout my catalog, it's always, yo, this song is my favorite. That song is my. Everybody got a different favorite meal at the restaurant. Then that means the restaurant is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I'm putting a tour together, it's hard to bring the whole buffet on the tour. You know what I mean? It's hard to perform all the meals, for lack of a better term, but it works out. You know, I'm blessed to be able to have what you call a good problem.
Is your bigger audience overseas or the United States?
Without a doubt, overseas.
It's overseas?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Why do you think that is?
They appreciate the essence of what hip hop is more. You know, they also do more research. I remember being in Italy, somewhere in Italy, man. I forgot the name of the town, but we was in Italy, and the promoter had like an assistant or somebody running around with us. Young kid, he had to be like 21. Get in his car, he's playing Big L, he's playing NWA, he's playing G-Rap. And I asked him, I said, how do you know about this? You're 21. How do you know about this? Like, L was gone before you were born. You know what I mean? He was like, man, once I got into hip-hop, I just went back. I don't know any 21-year-olds in New York or Atlanta or L.A. or D.C. going back.
No.
You know what I mean? And that's the difference.
No.
He literally was like, yo, once I got into hip hop, I had to know more about what happened before, and I went back.
It's like me going to Europe for anything, and it's always like from a young kid. Oh my God, that's Ed Lover.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here, it's got to be a parent trying to explain to their kid.
Yo, this is why this is important. This is why I just fanned out in front of Ed. You know what I mean? Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. We're going to take a break, man. I got more Skyzoo coming up. This is the Ed Lover, and this is Come On, Son, the podcast. Back with Come On, Son, the podcast. It's me, Ed Lover. I got a special guest, Skyzoo.
Yeah.
In the building, well over 25 projects.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this latest project in a minute. But my man, Cam P., who also works on this damn podcast with me, told me that his favorite joint is a Dream Deferred, and that's about 11 years old.
Yep.
Tell me about that project and why you called it a Dream Deferred. Was it something you was reaching for that didn't happen and made you change your dream?
Well, it kind of was a springboard off of The Salvation, which was the album right before that, right? Which was my debut album. So The Salvation was about, you know, temptation and going for what you wanted and this dream that you have and doing whatever it takes and, like, fighting the temptation to go towards it or being tempted to go deeper into it, whether you know the risk or not. And A Dream Deferred was kind of the outcome of that, right? So it was kind of like the sequel, for lack of a better term, from that. So what happens when the dream you was fighting for doesn't go the way you want it, or it does go the way you want it and it was more than you expected and more than you could handle? So, you know, obviously the title comes from Langston Hughes and everything.
Yes.
And, you know, that's where that came from. And with A Dream Deferred, it's a really lush project from a production standpoint. You know, it has this kind of warmth to it, and it works very well with a band. Like, I'm big on bringing the band out and doing Blue Note and all that. It works really well with a band and everything, and it's one of my most vulnerable projects where I really just where I really get into, okay, this dream went the way I thought it would and then some, or parts of the dream didn't go the way I thought it would, and here's what I'm dealing with because of that. And it kind of just opens up a little more than I had at that point ever on a personal level, you know?
Mm-hmm. What part of the dream did not go right for you?
Oh, man. I think in this, and you know for sure because you've been in this, you know, as an OG, you know, the game is people never mean what they say what they mean. People don't stand on what they stand on. People don't do what they should do or do what they say they'll do. And you lose friends in this, you know, or people that you thought was your friends as far as industry, right? Not friends you grew up with. My friends I grew up with are still with me every day.
Still solid.
100%, because they're not in the game. All they know about the game is me. You know what I mean? Like, but the people you meet in the game, oh, man, this person is dope. It's my man. We rocking. Boom, boom. We done did this and this. And then you learn who they are and who they aren't, more importantly, you know? And a lot of that stuff became very clear to me, and I went into it wide-eyed and you know, milk behind the ears, as they say, you know, and wet behind the ears, similar like, bro, I went into it with that. And once I realized what it was, then I was able to recalibrate, restructure, and, you know, move a certain way. But I think it was the realization of so many different things in the game. But not to say that I didn't still appreciate and love being in it, right? And now it's my full-time career. At that point, I hadn't worked a 9 to 5 in 6 years. You know what I mean? So I'm really all the way in. I'm seeing the fruits of my labor. I'm touring the world. I'm running around. I'm doing X, Y, Z, but also seeing just what comes with it. You know? I was also in the middle of a little major label tug thing that a couple majors wanted me and all that, and it was like I said earlier, I just decided to step away. You know, there were things that they were ready to do financially and all that, which were great. And it was like, but we want to do this and this and this. And then I was just like, you know what, I think I'm going to chill for now, and maybe we revisit later. And if we don't, we don't. But I'm good, you know? Yeah.
And you know what? And that goes back to the adage of a song that I think is the Jackson 5 had a long time ago. And Mike, you hear Michael sing, everybody loves a star when he's on the top. Nobody wants to come around when he starts to flop, right? And you learn that quickly. And I think all of us that have had ebbs and tides in this business, at some point we learn that.
100%.
You know, that you're good when you can provide something for somebody else. But if you have that down point in your career, the same people that used to be able to get on the phone, you can't get them on the phone.
Oh, without a doubt.
And it hurts. It hurts because you think that you're good. That's why sometimes I laugh if I'm on Instagram posts and I'll see somebody standing next to somebody and I'm chilling with my man.
Right.
And I'll be like,
Oh,
that's
my
your
brother,
man,
my
or
brother.
brother.
Right.
Even I see, I see females do it, right? I see them, oh, this is my girl, Kim Kardashian. And I'm like, hey, Kim's your girl because you married to this dude.
Right.
Let y'all break out and see how much that's your girl.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Number
Because
change,
it opens your mind up and it shows you how fickle people in this relationship, in this business could be. That's why it's important to keep your friends that you've always had.
Absolutely. And the best thing that happened to me, man, I'm honored to say I didn't have to suffer too much of that. I caught little sprinkles of it, but I didn't really go through anything too crazy. It just was enough to know, you know what, man, I'm this type of person. I've been raised a certain way as far as in my house and outside of my house, the OGs and everything. I grew up with certain morals and values. I can still look in the mirror and be me, so I know when to fall back and like I'm good on all that. But the best thing that happened to me was once I had my son, I was like at 90% less of the events, and I was at 90% less of the show, and I never felt better. It was like I'm so removed and detached from the industry. Like I make my music, I go on tour, I do my interviews when the album drops, people like yourself and people that show love and support, and I run around and go crazy and I do my numbers and then I go back home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I used to get FOMO,
down.
fear of missing out. I don't get FOMO.
Oh, without a doubt, man.
I don't really care no more.
It's crazy. I was talking to my wife about that not too long ago. Like, remember the days when like if I decided not to go to a Fada party or a Red Bull party or a BET party, and then you see pictures online the next day, and you're like, oh, my God, I missed that. I could have been with so-and-so and so-and-so. And you're seeing all these people at these events, and if I would have met so-and-so, I could have met them and turned into this, and that would have changed my life, and blah, blah. Man, leave all that. You know what I mean? You do the work, you do the grind, you go out there, do what you got to do, and go home and support your family, and whatever's supposed to come with it will come with it as long as you're still doing the work.
Yeah.
But the FOMO and all that, nah.
Yeah, I do this thing called Ed Lover's. I do like inspiration, Ed's words of inspiration on the radio, right? And Hillary Rodham Clinton, former First Lady and Secretary of State of the United States of America, had a quote that says, "You have a career and you have a life. Don't ever think that your career is your life."
Right.
That's
real.
You have to understand how to
That's
have
so
a life
real.
and a career. And sometimes, I remember I seen Meek Mill put a tweet out one time after the Rock Nation brunch, and he said, "What happened to manhood?" He said, "I've never seen so many dudes before trip over themselves to get a picture with Jay-Z."
Right.
Like, what happened? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't get fear of missing out the Rock. Nothing against Jay. I love Jay.
Absolutely.
But I don't have FOMO if I don't have an invitation to the Rock Nation.
Same here.
brunch.
Same here. And
cool.
like you said, he's iconic and legendary,
Absolutely.
and that doesn't begin to describe him. And if he was in here right now, I would want to flick it up. But the whole tripping over and the whole feeling like your life ended and
exactly.
Nah, like okay, it's all good.
It's all good.
It's all right.
If I catch him, we catch up.
That's it.
We all cool as fuck. But
what Big said best, we bleed the same blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Put my pants on and say where you put your pants on.
That's it.
Let's talk about this. Your latest project, Skyzoo and the Other Guys, The Mind of a Saint.
Yeah.
Based on Snowfall.
Yeah.
I see that's the house on the back. Look, y'all, that's a Snowfall house.
Yeah, that's Saint House. Absolutely.
What made you do this project, bro?
Man, so the way that came about, oh, man, it's a really unique story, man. So I got a homie, my man Kerry, he's out of Portland. He was an exec with the Portland Trailblazers, real high up guy, but he one of us. Hip hop head, looked like me and you and all that, but he's a high ranking dude with the Blazers. And good friend of mine I met through the music. Like he was a fan who came to a show in Portland, and then we wound up getting real cool. And we would always, he'll text me about the music and different things, and he was talking about an older project of mine I have called Theo vs. JJ. It's a mixtape I have from some years back. And he was like, man, Theo vs. JJ is like top 5 Skyzoo projects.
You mean talking about like Theo from the Cosby Show versus JJ Evans?
Yep.
Oh, shit.
So the idea of it was the dichotomy and the juxtaposition of like the grass being greener.
Right.
Like that's what the whole tape is about. It was a mixtape I dropped right before Dream Deferred.
Okay.
And it's talking about how like the ideas that Theo had and the ideas that JJ had and how they could be looking at each other like your life is so much better than mine and you don't realize it. You know what I mean? Like the grass is greener.
Right.
So he was like, yo, man, that's like top 5 Skyzoo projects ever and it's so deep and I was like, oh, thank you, bro, whatever. And he was like, yo, you should do like Franklin versus Avon. And I was like, what? I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Like, talking about Avon from The Wire.
Right.
I was like, bro, I'm not doing that. Like, then I explained why I did Theo versus JJ the way I did. And I was like, yo, they don't even align the same way.
Right.
But he asked me like 5 times, like, bro, you got to do that. And I was like, yo, you know what? You might be onto something. I was like, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to flip the idea you have a little bit. And I was like, I'm just going to do a whole record rhyming as Franklin. And he was like, yo, that's insane. That's going to be crazy. Oh, my God. So that was how it started. You know what I mean? And we went from there, man. And I was like, yo, I think this would be kind of wild. So now fast forward to the other guys who were on there with me. The other guys are a production duo out of D.C.
Okay.
Crazy producers. They go wild with it. And we were already talking about doing a record together. Like, yo, let's maybe do a whole project. We had done a few little things here and there. And when they came to me wanting to do a project, I was like, you know what? This might be the perfect time to loop them in with this idea. But they had to be into it. They might not have been fans of the show. They might.
Right.
It might have been, man, we want a Skyzoo album. We don't want a Franklin album. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So I had to pitch it to them. Like, yo, if we do this record, what do you think about me doing it as a concept album with me rhyming as Franklin? And they was like, oh, my God, like, that's insane. Let's do it. You know, They was all the way with it. And we started working, man, and it came together. We dropped it early January of this year. And the week that it dropped, it was the #1 hip-hop album on Apple Music.
That's dope.
We charted over Drake in 21. We charted over French. We charted over Now That's What I Call Music, the hip-hop version. Like, we were the #1 charted hip-hop album in the country that week.
Right.
Which was sick. So
this takes you straight through from the beginning of Snowfall?
Yep, absolutely.
Because Snowfall is dope because we watched the growth of Franklin Saint.
Yeah.
We watched him all through.
Yep.
All the way into
Boy to a Man.
He became what he despised.
Absolutely. And
right?
and that's the genius of it, and that's the part that tugs at you, you know. So with this album, the album ends at the end of season 5.
Okay.
Because season 6 wasn't out yet when the album was done and when I put it out.
Right.
So this album is seasons 1 through 5, and it starts with him saying, yo, let me tell you my story. So the opening track, Eminent Domain, is me just saying, you know, gather around, like, let me tell you my story, you know, and then it goes from all the way from the beginning. I don't know if it's any spoiler alerts for anybody watching who hasn't seen the show yet, but, you know, living with Rob and the Volpes in the Valley and all that, and growing up as a Black Panther, and it goes all the way down to the end of season 5 where his world gets shattered.
Right.
And he's like, it's time for me to get back what's mine. You know, that's how the album ends.
Okay.
So now, with season 6 being out the way, the plan always was to re-release the album talking about season 6.
Okay.
Because I knew everybody would want that.
Right.
All the fans would be like, yo, the album was so crazy. You got to finish the story now. Like, we got the end of the story on TV. Now we need the end of the story with the music. So the deluxe version is coming out later this year.
Okay.
Where I add 5 or 6 songs to it, wrapping up how the entire story ended.
Okay.
Which was season 6 and the downfall and the demise and da-da-da-da.
Have you done that already, or are you still working on it?
I'm working on it now.
Okay.
Working on it now, yeah.
Okay.
So we dropped the album, and, man, the way it took off, man, from the critical acclaim to the numbers to the people going like, yo, what is this? Like, people's losing their minds, man.
Isn't it good for you to know that there's still people out there that love hip-hop that don't just depend on the radio to give them hip-hop?
That's been the premise of my whole career. You know, I've been on the radio, I've been on TV, I've been in magazines, but I am not a radio, TV, magazine artist.
Right.
I'm the artist who drops a record, and for whatever reason, without being on the radio and TV and stuff, everybody's talking about it. And everybody on one side of the coin is talking about it and going to get it and coming to the shows and packing out, whether it's New York, LA, Atlanta, Germany, Johannesburg, wherever, and we wash, rinse, repeat, you know, and that's been the story of my career. I've never had to depend on the radio, TV, magazines. It's nice, you know, when shout to my bro DJ Enough. He goes crazy on my records. DJ Self. Self goes crazy on my records. Yeah. Like,
shout out to Selfie. Ephraim, what's up, Ephraim? I just saw him on a documentary that what is it, Jesse Terrero? You know what I'm talking about? The director?
The director, yeah.
Yeah, they just did something. I watched it the other night about the Latinos' impact on the hip-hop culture.
Oh, that's dope.
And Enough was all over that.
That's dope, as he should be.
Big shout out to Big Spanish.
Yeah. Does all the beats for Ice Spice.
Yeah.
He does all the beats for
Ice Spice. Ice Spice beats?
Yep.
Yeah, that's dope.
That's Enough, son.
Yeah, that's enough.
When it says,
that's beautiful. The apple don't fall for the tree.
Yeah, when on the beginning of her records, when it says Riot, that's Enough, son. His name is Riot.
Oh, that's
Yep,
dope.
he does
Shout out
all
to
Ice
Lil-
Spice work.
I knew him when he was a baby. That's dope. I like that. I
so
like
he's
that.
cashing out, doing his thing.
Yeah, I like seeing him do his thing,
Yeah.
man. Big shout out to my man, Big Spanish, all day long.
Yeah.
After this, man, after you put out the
deluxe joint.
deluxe joint, what's next? You already
I'm not
thinking
sure.
that forward?
I'm not
You'll
sure.
take a break?
It'll no breaks. No breaks. Nah. I got mortgages and cars and my
Right.
son and my whiz and no breaks. But it for me it's the music, my music is ghostwriting, it's the acting that I've been doing
You been
now.
ghostwriting?
I've been ghostwriting for years.
For the likes of, is it Super Secret?
Yeah, but I've definitely been at a stoplight and a girl will pull up next to me, bumping a joint that I wrote and singing it or rhyming it word for word, and I'll just look over like, you know what I mean? Like that's definitely happened.
Why is the
tons of
ghostwriting
times.
thing so super secret? Like I just saw a little clip of an interview with Un when Un was talking about how he gave Mace money to write for C's.
Right.
Right? And then Cam
And then he let
said
Cam do
Mace
it.
gave me
He let
5
Cam do
stacks
it.
and I wrote Crush on You.
Right.
I didn't,
right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I knew about that from back in the day. Yeah, they was paying Mace to ghostwrite, and Mace, Cam being his best friend, he was
Right.
hooking him up.
Right.
Like, yo, you do it, and you
Right.
can have the money. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
because they're not going to give you the job because they don't know you yet. Cam
Right.
wasn't on yet and all
Yeah.
that. They giving me the job because I'm the #1 artist in the world or whatever. Yo, you do it. You can have the money. You know what I
Right.
mean? Which I thought was awesome.
And then you find out Sauce Money wrote I'll Be Missing You for
he wrote like half that No Way Out album. Yeah, he wrote like half
Sauce
that.
has always been
Yeah.
so underrated. And
Absolutely.
So ill.
Absolutely.
But you knew shit like Big wrote for Kim.
Right.
You knew,
Jay wrote for Fox
right.
and all that.
Jay
yeah.
wrote 5 records. Get
Right.
Me Home with Black Street.
Right. Absolutely.
Jay. You knew that Jay wrote Still DRE.
Right.
Include. I didn't know he even wrote the hook.
Yeah.
We're representing for the gangsters all across the
Yeah,
world.
the whole
still.
joint.
Snoop said when they heard that, he said everybody was in the lab.
Yeah.
And when Jay-Z sent them reference vocals,
Yeah.
he said all of them niggas was like, that's it right there, Jay.
Yeah. It's
Dre,
done.
he was like, even
It's
though
done.
we had egos as big as a fucking mountain, when
Yeah.
we heard that,
Yeah.
each and every word and that hook, we was
Yeah.
like, okay, Dre, do that.
Yeah, that's it. Just
Yeah,
leave it
don't
alone.
fuck all this shit we wrote.
Right. You
Do
know
that.
Jay wrote for Bugs Bunny. Jay
Yeah.
wrote on the
Yeah.
Space Jam soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote the Bugs Bunny joint.
Yeah.
So the thing with ghostwriting, I always tell people, because I get interviewed about that a lot, because a lot of people know I do that on the side. The reason why it's so taboo in hip hop is because when you look at R&B, we know Babyface wrote tons of records for everybody. We know
Absolutely.
Teddy Riley wrote. We know all these different people, and it's not a secret.
Right.
Because when you're a singer, it's about you actually singing, right? It's about
Right.
the octaves and the performance and the dancing with the singing, and it don't matter who wrote that record from Mariah. The way she sings it is different from if another woman sang it,
And
or
a lot
Mary
of times
or
it
whoever.
is Mariah writing her own shit.
Right, absolutely.
Right.
But still, if or Mary J or
Right.
whoever,
Yeah, absolutely.
So with hip hop, you're not singing, you're not hitting different octaves and different things. You're not dancing. So if you're not singing, you're not dancing, you're just rhyming, you're just rapping, right? So you're not writing the raps either. So then what are you doing? That's kind of why I think people look at it the way they look at it. And then if you're talking about artists who are looked at as being great entertainers, your Puffs, your Timberlands, I'm just naming people, Dre's,
Right.
great producers and entertainers, you understand and you accept the fact that they may be getting help or whatever it is.
Well,
but,
Easy did too. But Easy wasn't no fantastic entertainer, but Easy put it out there.
right. He put
said,
out there off
Ice
the
Cube
rip.
write the rhymes.
This is what
that
it
I
is.
say. That's what
Because
he
for
said.
him, he was like, they had to beg him to rap. He's like, I'm not a rapper. I just want
Right.
to put the money up and get paid, you know?
Right.
So, but his character, and that's not a knock because of who he is. He really was that character, but
Yeah.
his character and all that, and his persona made so much sense
he was
for the
gangster
group.
for real.
It was like,
Out of
come
all
on
of
in.
them, Easy was the only
Right.
nigga
It was
that
like,
was really
come on
truly
in.
gangster.
Let's really do this so that we can make sure we get this message across. So,
Right.
but when you talk about artists who may be looked at as one of the greatest ever, or top this or top
Can
that,
you be?
exactly. That's
Can
where I'm
you
going.
be top
That's where I'm
of
going.
all time if you
I don't
don't
think
write
you
your
can.
own?
I don't
don't
think
either.
you can
I
at
don't
all.
care what
So,
nobody says.
And that's why when artists who are looked at as some of the greats, whether they're some of the greats right now, some of the greats forever, whatever it is, when you find out that they may have gotten help, that's why it hurts your heart so much.
Right.
Because you're like, dag, man,
'Cause
you supposed
honestly-
to be the nicest in the world. You getting help? You know
So
what I mean?
when we feel the same way about Tupac, if we found out somebody wrote 90% of Tupac
Exactly.
shit.
Or Big, or Jay, or Nas.
Jay,
right.
or
You know what I'm
Nas.
saying? So
Right.
that's why people look at ghostwriting the way they look at it. When you find out that some of the guys who are the greats, so even if they run around preaching that they're the greatest and the nicest and the whatever, if you found out they got help, it breaks your heart.
Yeah,
it's
because
like, come on.
Drake swept that Quentin Collins shit under the. Well, I think that's
Quentin,
his last name.
What's his name?
The kid that that they had, they had him did the rights.
Quentin Miller.
He swept that shit under the rug. Real quick.
Yeah.
You know?
So and that situation was weird because I don't know the dynamics of what was done and who did what. So I don't know. You know. We know it all blew up and went crazy, and we know Drake's been going crazy ever since that happened. He's still been putting out hit after hit, So whatever it wasn't enough to impact anything. So
there's
I don't know.
Between a collaboration, right? There's a difference between you got this, but you really want it to be better, so you say, Zoo,
come in here and tweak a little bit.
And tweak it, than just somebody saying, here's the beat, give me some shit.
And I've done that too. I've helped people tweak their records, and I've written everything from A to Z. You know what I'm saying?
Because I remember Nas was saying that he tweaked Getting Jiggy with it for Will Smith. Okay. He said, I threw him a line or two here, a line.
Right. I've done that with heads.
The whole shit. He said, I saw Will write that record.
Right.
I changed lines here and there.
Right. Yeah,
you know
just added you in the kitchen.
Right.
Put a dash of that.
Exactly.
Put a dash of that.
Right.
And I've done that with heads too. I've done that with people who write all their own stuff, and I'll be in the session with them, and they'll be, yo, what you think? Yo, that's crazy. Yo, what if you said this? Boom, boy, and I may throw them 3 lines.
Right.
I don't want nothing off 2, 3 lines. Like, you know what I'm saying? The only way I want some off 2, 3 lines if it's the hook. Because that is 2, 3 lines.
That's 2, 3
it.
lines.
You know
That's
what I mean?
a song.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I threw you 2 lines on the first verse. Yo, go ahead. Like, you know what I mean? But and I've also written everything from A to Z. Play the beat, tell me the concept, give me an hour, and we good. But the only thing I haven't done is somebody doing that for me, and I never will.
Okay.
Like, I've always said if the day ever came where I didn't have it, and I couldn't write or I needed help, I'm out.
Do you think that, that some of the artists from way back when would have lasted a lot longer if they had looked at hip-hop the way people look at R&B? If they'd have went
as
for
far
the
as
help?
The writing?
Yeah, like when, like just say when one of them started getting to the end of their stuff. Like if they would have went in and got some of these young dudes and said, look, write this shit.
Maybe. But I think where they benefited from was being there since the beginning. Yeah. So now, 50 years later, they can do Rock the Bells. They can do tours. They can be iconic. And, when you're there from the start, it's a whole different dynamic. And I mean, we wouldn't be here without them. We wouldn't be here without you. We wouldn't be here without all these individuals who paved the way, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, that is a beautiful thing. And shout out to all the OGs, man, 50 years of hip-hop. Skyzoo in the building. This is the latest project right here.
Mind of a Saint.
And he gave it to me on wax. I'm hanging this on my wall in my basement. This is so dope, man. I appreciate you, brother.
You know it, man. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being on the show.
You know
this
man.
Is Come On, Son, the podcast. I'm Matt Lover, man. As always, keep God first. Everything first. Everything else will fall into place. I'll talk at you, with you, to you, and definitely about your ass next week, okay? Be good if you can't be good. Be careful. If you can't be careful, name your baby Skyzoo, okay? We'll see you later. Until next week. Come on, son. Now get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Peace, y'all.